All right, let's hop into Illustrator. Does anyone need more time to finish up the lab from Tuesday? Okay.
Basic drawing tools part 1.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I have it.
I don't think I finished.
You don't think you finished? Okay. So what we'll do is I'll continue with the lecture right now, and then
Is it going to be off the same?
the lecture today is just different drawing tools.
Okay.
So what we'll do is, so could put the lab from Tuesday on hold for right now. We'll focus on these new drawing tools, and then the lab for tonight is a little shorter, so we'll give you more time to do both labs today. You got it. All right, so in Illustrator, we're going to create a new file, and it's going to be 12 by 12. Set the units to inches. Is that good?
Yeah,
Awesome. Thank you. All right, units 12 inches. And the color mode should be RGB. And then click create. Now we've already used the pen tool a lot, but it's important for us to go through a specific here's how the pen tool works tutorial. And the last time I talked about the pen tool exclusively, we kind of rushed through it just so we could get into that particular lab for that night. So this may feel like review. Hopefully you'll learn some new stuff tonight though. So the pen tool is right here. Right now my toolbar is collapsed to one column, but if yours is 2 columns, the pen tool is right next to the curvature tool. So the pen tool looks like the nib of a pen, an old fountain pen with no little string coming off of it. If your toolbar is collapsed to one column, then it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th tool down. Also, conveniently, the pen tool shortcut is the letter P. We're going to walk through a couple different scenarios with the pen tool. Number 1, every time you click with the pen tool, wherever your mouse is, you create what's called an anchor point. This is a coordinate in the X and Y position of that page. And Illustrator logs those coordinates. If you do not connect to the original anchor, and when you are at the original anchor, your pen tool icon changes to a little circle next to the pen. If you do not complete that path, then this path will be what's called an open path. And it will still allow you to do things like having a fill and a stroke. It will just not be closed. So here we have this open space. And there are various reasons for why you would or would not want to do this. Most paths in Illustrator will be closed though. Oh my goodness, before we go any further, our instructions indicate that we are supposed to create a folder and name this file a specific thing. So let's go ahead and do that right now. I'm going to file save in Illustrator. And it's already navigated to my thumb drive for me because that's the last time I created something. And in my GRC17 folder, I'm going to click this new folder button and create a new folder called GRC17_240926 and then create. And then that folder is selected. And so when I name my file GRC17_240926_LECT_last name _first initial, it will place it within that folder when I choose save.
And the numbers are for the date, right?
It's the 24th year, the 9th month, and the 26th day. So 240926.
The lecture, right? On the file.
What's that?
It's lecture on the file.
LECT, yes. Yeah, just like it is up there. If you can't see that, I don't think I can zoom in more.
We are.
You got it? Okay. All right, cool. Now we're solid here. We got this thing saved. Now when you're drawing with the pen tool, I'm going to just move this shape out of the way. If you're creating something that's a specific shape, having the fill and stroke applied while you're drawing can be kind of annoying. For example, let's say I'm trying to draw the letter E. Let's draw the letter E. Make sure you have the pen tool selected and not the curvature tool. So I'm going to start up here like this, and I'm going to make an E like that. Now as I'm drawing, it's starting to fill in. So this one isn't necessarily that bad. Let's try a letter T. Okay, so right there we've got this huge swash of color, and I know I'm gonna fix it here. I'm gonna draw this T, but it can have the potential to get into the way. All right, let's go crazy now. Let's draw a letter H. So now, when I'm getting to the other leg on this letter H, I have my fill is crossing over my path. And it can be annoying. So in order to fix that, we can just disable the fill. And the shortcut for that is, number one, make sure that your fill color is forward here. The X key toggles that back and forth between fill and stroke. Once the fill color is forward, whatever color you choose will be applied to the fill. And if you want no fill, you can choose this icon right here in the swatches. The very first one with a red line through it is none. Also, you can hit the / key on your keyboard, which looks just like that forward slash or the slash with the red. And now when I draw with the pen tool, I get just the stroke. You can also do it while you are drawing. So if you apply the fill color while you're drawing, and you're like, I hate this, you can hit the forward slash key and it will get rid of it while you're drawing. No need to stop. All right, save that. So last week we looked at, did we do arrowheads?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So when we have this, I'm going to just open this gap up a little bit here. This path has a start and a stop. The start is where you first drop your anchor point. The stop is when you let go and you don't, and it's the last anchor point that you drop, including the one that connects to the first anchor point. So when you are working with adding arrowheads, the arrowheads are going to be applied based on the start and the end anchor points of your path. And we saw that already, so we're not gonna go into that one. But just know that there is a start and that there is an end. Okay, cool. Save this, new artboard. That was weird. If you ever, I don't know if you saw that message I just quickly moved away. It said, your file has been edited outside of Illustrator. You'll see that more often when you are working with a thumb drive because your computer is doing things with the external drive. It could be doing a virus scan or some kind of check. It's not anything to really be worried about. If it happens a lot, then there is an issue that needs to be looked at. And most Illustrator issues can be resolved by quitting the program and restarting your computer, frankly. And then everything gets cleared out. There is a cache in Illustrator that you can clear out if you need to, if it's getting funky. Also in the Mac, you have this thing called a preferences file that you can trash. So if you're having issues, the first thing I always do is just Google it. Like, here's the problem I'm having, and then I go to Google and I'm like, hey, I'm using Illustrator. Why is it doing this? And oftentimes, if it's an erratic behavior, the internet will advise that we trash the preferences file. And that's a multi-step process, but we can forego looking at that because we don't need to do it right now. But just know that it does exist, and there are instructions online for doing that. Okay, cool. Let's create a new artboard. Now with your pen tool, right in the center of the page, the one that we just created, I want you to click and drag to the right, let go, and then down vertically centered on the right hand side, I want you to click and drag down, and then towards the lower part of the page in the center, horizontally centered, I want you to click and drag to the left. And then we're going to repeat the process over here. Click and drag up. And then finally, if you click on the point of origination to connect that path, without dragging, it's going to do a weird thing. So if we want to have this curve be equal to the other curves, we have to click and drag here. So we set that that entry point, or the entry curve, that on-ramp. Cool. And we've created a very rudimentary circle. All right. New artboard, dun dun dun. Now we're going to create that same shape, but without dragging. We're just going to click, 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 and click. Basically creating a diamond. Now if we long press on the pen tool, we have this anchor point tool. The Shift C is the shortcut. I've never been able to remember that. I do remember the P shortcut, but Shift C gives you the anchor point tool. And it looks like the selection tool, except it is just two sides of the triangle. It is not the bottom part. And the purpose of this is when you click on an anchor, it converts it to a curve instead of a point. But you have to drag to give it handles. So with the anchor point tool, let's click and drag all four of the points that we created, all four of the anchors. The anchor point tool also allows you to individually select these anchors, the handles of the anchors, and move them around. Here's the fun part though. If you click on an anchor point that has been set to a curve, you will convert it back to a point. And you'll have to go back and re-click and drag with the anchor point converter tool to be able to do that, to make it a curve. And that even works over here. So back on this circle, if I click on these anchors here, it turns those back to points instead of curves. Now you can choose the segments on these paths using the direct selection tool, just like you can select the anchors themselves. You can select a segment. So right now I clicked on this segment right here, which means the path from this point to this point has now been selected. And if I hit the delete key, oh, hello. Let's try that again. If I hit the delete key, it gets rid of that path. And because the fill is still enabled, now it just fills from this point to this point. And you can select multiple segments and it will get rid of them. However, it still keeps that one point at the top there. So if you need to just get rid of the top half of this shape with the direct selection tool, I would select the point and the two paths that you want to get rid of. Or you could use the knife tool or the scissors tool. To get rid of that shape. All right, new artboard. So we're on artboard number 4 now. And with the pen tool, I want you to create a star shape as best as you can. Nice. Cool. And then with the pen tool, I want you to hover over. First of all, let's do this. Let's select the shape. And I want you to, yeah, okay. Let me be more specific. So with the selection tool, select your shape. Number 1. Number 2, with the pen tool, now hover over these points. And when you do that, you see that the icon for the pen tool displays a minus sign there. And that is exactly what that's going to do. When you click on that point, it will get rid of it. But it's not like the delete, where the delete will actually get rid of the segments and leave an opening there. Using the pen tool to delete a point maintains the path's closedness. So the path remains closed and not open, whereas if you use the direct select tool, the path now is open. It accomplishes visually very similar things. And if you mess up and delete something that you didn't want to delete, Command Z will undo it. Now let's say I'm drawing another star here. Let's do a different color. And I just get all messed up. I'm like, how do you even draw a star? I don't even know, right? Command Z will undo each point drop. Also, the backspace key or the delete key will do the same thing. Now, if you are drawing, I'm going to replicate this again here, doing this and this, and I hit the backspace key. That disconnects me from the path that I'm creating. I don't know if you all saw that. Let's try it again. So here I go. I'm going to click, 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 and then I'm going to hit the backspace key because I didn't want that last click. Clicking again, I'm going to start a new path. I don't want to do that. What I want to do is continue drawing what I was drawing. So if you come up here and click on that last anchor point, even though it has a minus next to it, if you click on it, now you can reconnect and keep drawing. All right, so let's make a new page. Page number 5 now, new artboard, sorry. Not page, they're called artboards. And I want you to draw me a tree with roots and color. Well, the trunk of the tree, I guess is what I'm talking about. It does not have to be amazing.
Where is that supposed to be? A flower?
We're creating a tree. Yep. So my tree kind of overlaps, or my trunk overlaps the top part of the tree. And all I did is I did object arrange, send to back to put it behind my my tree part. I'll give you about another 2 minutes to get that. Cool. Now, on Tuesday, we learned about the curvature tool. And one of the cool things about the curvature tool is it can be used to fix other paths. So my top of my tree is hecka funky. So what I'm going to do is select it with the selection tool. And I want you guys to just kind of watch up on the screen real quick. I'm going to select it with the selection tool. Then I'm going to choose my curvature tool. And now my points are these little circles. With the direct selection tool, you'll notice I have a point here, a point here, a point here, a point there, and a point there. So from here to here, we have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4 intermediary points. Now, with the selection tool and then choosing the curvature tool, it adds a couple additional points. And it did that because of the curvature math. And if it's going to turn this into a curvature shape, those are the points that are required. And you can alternate back and forth. It just depends on which tool you've got selected. So right now I have the curvature tool selected. So if I want this to be a little more even, like this guy right here, that bugs me. Now I can go in and grab the convert to curve tool, right? The anchor point tool. This guy right here, and that'll help me, convert it a little bit. Or if I use the curvature tool and just double click on that spot right there, or click and drag. This cleans up a little bit. And it turns the corners into curves and the curves into corners if you double click, just like our anchor point tool. But moving these points around keeps things looking awesome. That's funky. So in this situation, I would come back in here with the anchor point tool and pull that out. The problem is that this handle is too out of control. There we go. Okay. So you have the options of both of those tools. All right, new artboard. Artboard number 6, save your work, Command S. Now with the pen tool, I want you to draw a perfect rectangle. And how we do that is first clicking a point of origination, a first anchor, and then you hold down the Shift key, because the Shift key will constrain your movements to 45-degree angles. Otherwise, you're going to get something like this as your rectangle, which is not ideal, right? What we want is this. So holding down the Shift key and observing when the Smart Guide's engaged, so I can see right here, that pink line shows up. That tells me that I am directly below that our first point. And then I click, holding down the Shift key, and then finalize. All right, so let's draw a perfect rectangle. Okay, and we're going to create using the pen tool. I want you to click and drag and then hold the Shift key down on this first point. And then just click over here to the right and then come back down to where you are in parallel with that first point, that first anchor, and then pull down. Try to match that curve. And then hit the Escape key. So let's draw a couple of those shapes. Let's do 4 of them. So we click and drag up, holding to the Shift key, and then we click, and then we click and drag down. And then Escape turns it loose. And you'll find that it's hard to make these shapes equal. All right. Now, the pencil tool, a tool I clearly don't use enough. There it is. And we talked about on Tuesday. Also within the pencil tool is something called the smooth tool. With a shape selected, you can drag this slider and smooth that shape out. So if you have these three guys selected here, with the smooth tool, you can try and shape them better, or you can drag along that path with the shape selected to try and even it out. So back here on the tree, I'm going to select my tree trunk and then I'm just going to drag through that weird knobby point there. And that makes it better. This part of my tree, I'm not happy with it. So I'm going to try to smooth this out a little bit. Now in that situation, I'm going to actually use the pencil tool and redraw that shape there. And then I can use my smooth tool to fix it. Okay. Let's save this. Thus concludes part 2 of our of our drawing in Illustrator. And the lecture should be open. Go ahead and save this as a PDF and submit that. And then I'll open up the lab